2016, I got a raise and I was feeling flush, so I bought a Delorme Inreach Se. 3 years later, I still take it on every hike. That by itself should tell you that I like this piece of gear. But before you buy one, you need to ask yourself a simple question. Are you ever out of cell phone range? If the answer is no, you don't need a satellite communicator. It's that simple. Most of my hikes are in places where cell phones don't work, so for me, a satellite-based device is a worthwhile investment. Usually I keep my Inreach Se in a pouch attached to a shoulder strap on my pack. Anytime I want to use the unit, I can pull it out without removing the pack. Since my purchase, Delorme was bought out by Garmin and the SE was replaced by the SE Plus. As the name suggests, they're very similar. You do have other options from various companies, and the bells and whistles vary from model to model. Regardless of the model, the three critical functions to look for are SOS messages, GPS, and two-way communication. If you activate the SOS function, the unit starts a countdown and will send out a distress signal unless you cancel it. Hopefully, you'll never use the SOS button, but let's look at how it works. If you halt the countdown, the unit gives you a second chance to ask for help. You have to actively cancel that message like I do here. By the way, this is not something you need to practice. One easy way to check if the unit is working properly is to go outside and use it to email yourself. If the message goes through and shows your proper location, the SOS will work. The basic SOS instructions are on the back of the unit. At the start of a hike, it's a good idea to show the unit and the instructions to anyone you haven't hiked with before. That way, if you're unconscious, they can use the unit to summon help. But the main thing for them to remember is to slide the lock to the left and keep pressing the SOS button until the unit goes berserk. Garmin has a YouTube video on what happens next, and I'll provide a link in the description box. Here I'll provide a summary. A satellite picks up the distress signal and forwards it. This diagram is for the COSPAS SARSAT system, and Garmin uses the Iridium system, but the principles are the same. The SOS is forwarded from the satellite to a central monitoring station. In Garmin's case, the monitoring station is GEOS near Houston. GEOS forwards the information to rescue coordination centers around the world. Here in New Mexico, for example, the default agency for backcountry rescues is the state police. Also, when you register your device, you're asked to provide emergency contacts. If you do, GEOS will contact them as well. Finally, the Rescue Coordination Center sends someone to your location. Yeah, it's complicated, but you don't have to worry about that. All you need to know is that if you send an SOS, a rescue crew will show up. Help might not arrive for hours or even days, depending on where you are, the weather, and other factors. Still, that's better than waiting a few years for someone to stumble across your bleached bones. The system can't work if the rescuers don't know where you are. Because of that, the Inreach includes a GPS receiver. When you send out your SOS, the unit determines your current position and includes it with the SOS. As long as I'm discussing the SOS function, I'll share a thought from Taos Search and Rescue in northern New Mexico. Because of the built-in GPS function, if you own an Inreach Se, you don't need to carry a dedicated GPS unit. Instead, you can create routes on your personal computer and upload that information into your SE. You'll also need to add Garmin's EarthMate app to your phone. Once you're out in the boonies, you can link your unit to your phone using Bluetooth. As part of the app, you can call up a map showing where you are and where you need to go. As you move along, you can create a visual record of your actual route. The Inreach Se does have a minor limitation as a GPS unit. I'll show you what I mean by using a route for my Oregon 450T, which is a dedicated GPS. The red trail is the route my friends and I took during a recent hike. The breadcrumb trail, as it's called, is incredibly detailed. For example, the little squiggle indicated by the arrow is where we stepped a few meters off the trail to eat lunch. The downside of my dedicated GPS unit is that it's a receiver only, so I can't share route information while I'm still hiking. Instead, I have to wait until I'm back home and can download the information to my computer. This is the Inreach Se Route Map from the same hike. I set up the SE to transmit my position every 20 minutes, and the blue dots show those positions. The software draws a line from one dot to the next, so you can see the basic route, but you lose all the fine details. If you want more detail than that, you can change the transmission interval to every 10 minutes, but as you transmit more, it may cost more. The big advantage over my GPS is I can share my route as it happens. Also, any messages you send out are geo-referenced, meaning your location is indicated. That's a very nice touch. This brings us to the third basic function of the Inreach SE, besides serving as an SOS device and a GPS unit. It allows you to communicate with the outside world and vice versa, no matter where you are. It's not a satellite phone, so you can't talk to people. Instead, you send a text message to a person's email account or cell phone, even to a social media account, and folks back in town can send you a message if they want. There are 3 basic ways to send a message. First, you get 3 messages where both the message and the recipients are defined in advance. For those, you just navigate to the message and send it. Even better, there's never an extra charge for those 3 messages, no matter how many times you send them. Second, you can define lists of preset messages and separate lists of preset recipients. In the woods, you select the preset recipients you want to contact and the preset message you want them to get. Not as fast as the first option, but still pretty fast. Third, you can compose a message to someone new or about some unexpected issue or both by entering the information character by character. If you use the unit's keyboard function, creating a new message from scratch is a pain in the butt and my least favorite thing about the Inreach. Here as well, the solution is to link your Inreach in your phone using Bluetooth. Using the EarthMate app, composing a message is as painless as regular texting. And unlike regular texting, it doesn't matter that there's no cell coverage. By the way, if the Inreach can't find a satellite to communicate with, it keeps trying to send the message until it does find one. In the same way, any delayed incoming messages arrive as soon as your satellite link is restored. In my 3 years of using the unit, with a clear view of the sky, any delay usually doesn't last more than a minute or 2. In places such as the bottom of a canyon, my longest delay has been about 10 minutes. Because it's so handy to use your phone as an interface, I'm not surprised that Garmin now offers a mini version that downplays text entry. The Mini costs a little more than the full-sized Inreach, is more compact, and weighs less than half as much. It offers position logging at 1-second intervals, so unlike my original SE, it can provide an accurate breadcrumb trail. I prefer to turn off my cell phone when I'm on a hike, partly to save the battery, mostly to be left alone, but that's me. If you get separation anxiety whenever your phone is off, the Mini is a great choice. Garmin also sells a higher-end model, the Explorer Plus, which combines the features of a satellite communicator and a dedicated GPS. Specifically, it has a screen that allows you to look at a map and route, so you don't have to use your phone for that function. The Explorer Plus also provides a detailed breadcrumb trail, eliminating one of my complaints about the original SE. You also get a digital compass, barometric altimeter, and accelerometer to give you a more refined picture of your position and movement. Now for the elephant in the room, which is the cost. As I said earlier, I bought the Inreach when I got a raise and was feeling flush. 3 years later, I'm retired and money is a lot tighter. The unit is paid for, but I still have a monthly payment for the satellite subscription. It's not something I can drop because without satellite service, my unit is a paperweight. If you do buy an Inreach like I did, my recommendation is to start with the cheapest subscription and see if you can get by with that. That's what I do, and in practice the monthly cost varies between $15 and $20. But think about it. Between buying the unit and paying for the satellite subscription, in 3¼ years, I've spent almost $1,000. There's a cheaper alternative to pocket satellite communicators, namely personal locator beacons, or PLBs. Let's say that you want the SOS function for when you're out of cell phone range, but that's all. No real-time tracking or navigation tools, no non-emergency communication, just the ability to send out an SOS. That's what a PLB provides. The ResQLink costs about what my Inreach did, but it doesn't require a subscription. In an emergency, you press the SOS button and it sends a distress signal to the COSPAS SARSAT system, which doesn't require a subscription. You do have to replace the battery after an emergency or after 6 years, but that's your only expense down the road. On the other hand, if your SOS comes from a Garmin satellite communicator, GEOS will text you as part of their response. They'll ask for details about your emergency and pass on that information to your rescuers. They'll also gather information from your emergency contacts and pass that on as needed. So one thing you get from your paid subscription is a more focused and informed rescue. Besides, some problems require outside help without being an emergency. Suppose, for example, that you get back to the trailhead and your car won't start, so you need a tow truck. If you're out of cell phone range, you can resolve such non-emergency problems using your satellite communicator. Based on 3 years of use, I'll rate the Inreach SE on each of its core functions. I've never sent out an SOS, so I can't rate how GEOS handles emergencies, but the SOS function on the unit gets an excellent. It's so simple that even in a panic, you can trigger an SOS. Once that happens, you can text back and forth about the specifics of the emergency, including when help might arrive. The two-way communication function also gets an excellent. It's not instant, but it works reliably. I quibble about how difficult it is to enter a totally new address or message, but if you pull out your phone and use the EarthMate app, texting is painless. The navigation function only gets a fair because it's easier to navigate with a dedicated GPS. As this photo indicates, I hike with both. The technology has moved on in 3 years, however, and you can now get a Garmin satellite communicator that's better at navigation. A couple of final comments. As of September 2019, a few of the old-style Inreach SE units are still for sale. If you see a new one, you should point out that this is a discontinued model and you should ask for a deep discount. I personally would walk away if the seller wants more than $200 for a brand new one. Now a comment about satellite communicators in general. What you're really buying for all that money is peace of mind. Not just for yourself and the people you hike with, but for your loved ones back home. I want the SOS function for my own peace of mind. I want two-way communication for a different reason. Every time I go hiking, my wife is afraid I'll fall off a cliff or be eaten by bears or both. If she can track my progress and even send a text, my being in the backcountry suddenly gets less scary. If you have someone like that at home, satellite tracking and two-way communication buys a lot of peace of mind.